What up, guys? So today we got a question from Dan, who is a blue belt, who recently, I guess, was scouring the internet, and he heard something. I've heard this said a few times before. One of my students actually showed me a video one time, but basically the video that Dan came across on the interwebs said that essentially side control is a useless position. It's not a good position, and you shouldn't even bother with it. There's no reason to mess with side control. The rub for him is that side control is like his best finishing position. He's like, man, like this is my best place. But then this guy that I'm following on the internet, who I guess maybe has some sort of authority, or maybe Dan follows him closely, was like telling him this is a bad position. And he's curious what the Chewster thinks. What do I think about side control? So Dan, thanks for the question, brother. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Before I tell you what I think about side control, of course, like I'm going to be long-winded about this because that's what I do. Let me give you 3 pieces of advice that I'm glad I never followed. Because there's always this, you see this over and over again. If you're new to jiu-jitsu, this happens like, it's like anything else. It goes through these cycles. And anybody that's trying to make a name for themselves comes out with these sort of thou shalt rules, their commandments that they follow that nobody should break. And, you see this in diet, you see this everywhere. People trying to come up with these rules, and there's, a lot of times it's very contrarian, right? Like we're going to take something that's sort of accepted, where, oh no, this is bad, so you can get some attention. But nonetheless, here's 3 rules that I was told, or 3 sort of pieces of advice that I'm glad I never followed. Number 1, guillotine chokes are low percentage techniques and you shouldn't even bother with them. Unless it's like an MMA guy that you're going to choke out, don't even mess with them. That's what I was told very early on, that, guillotine chokes were they weren't good moves. And then I remember seeing Marcelo Garcia start to use that high elbow variation. I'm like, he's finishing a lot of these. And then you watch other fighters getting the arm in guillotines. I'm like, I think there's something to this guillotine choke. Maybe we just weren't doing it correctly, or maybe there's better ways to do it. Here's another one. Half guard is pointless. I remember I went to a gym where it was more of a, I guess you'd say a traditional gym, right? Traditional jiu-jitsu gym. And I was sort of working on my half guard at the time. And this guy was telling me, oh, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, half guard, this isn't a good position. You shouldn't be using half guard. It's like you're half passed is what he told me. I'm like, seems to be working for me. I'm doing really well. And again, this is one of my best positions. I'm really good at half guard, and I don't have the frame for using like full guard. I just don't. I don't skip leg day, and I'm not short, but I do have relatively short legs for my height. So it's like I don't have long legs. They're thick. Not a great position for me full guard, but half guard all day. And it links really well with my wrestling. So perfect position for me. So I'm glad I never took that advice, because it's been one of my best positions. And here's one last one that floated around very early on in my jiu-jitsu gym days, which was leg locks are not worth using because you have no control and you can't apply them safely. We know how all that turned out, don't we? Right? Bunch of nonsense. So here's what I'm getting at with this, Dan. People in jiu-jitsu, people everywhere, love to give these sort of thou shalt rules, and a lot of people love them. People love simple answers to complex situations. This is why, you can tell someone, hey, you can give them this diet plan that involves moderation. You can eat this, but whatever. Or we can say, just don't eat this one food and everything's going to be better, right? Which messaging is easy? It's why you see it in political messaging, right? They always sort of make it black and white. This is what it is. But we know it's not true. There's nuance to everything. There's nuance to what we're doing in jiu-jitsu. And so what I would tell you is if side control's working for you, go to side control. Keep using it. Listen to the ideas that come in from other people, from your coaches, from, assholes on the internet that make videos, that talk on them with beards, right? Hey, do whatever you want to do. Listen to all the information come in. But then what you do is you try it on. Think about trying on a pair of shoes. How do they fit you? Do they feel good? Do you want to change them? Do you like the way they look? Or maybe you can think about it as your game is like this big pot and you're making a stew. And every now and then you throw in a different little spice to see how that tastes. You mix it up and, how is that? Try it out a little bit. See how you feel with it. How do you like it? Maybe it's not for you, maybe it is, right? Because we're all sort of going out there, getting this experience, and then we're trying to, as coaches and people that are sharing, right, we're then saying, hey, here's something I've learned, here you go. And I think, Joseph Campbell talks about this idea that, at some point, we all come to this big forest, if you will, right? This is the imagery he uses, this big forest. And in this forest, there's all these different paths going into it that other people have blazed, right? And you typically will start on one of those paths because as humans, we need something to model after to get started. But then eventually you got to go on your own. And so with your jiu-jitsu, it's the same idea, bro. You're going through, you're doing all this stuff, but you will tend to find that you will tend to diverge away from certain people's ideas on jiu-jitsu, and that's completely okay. Right? Listen to it, take it all in, but I would tell you that almost every sort of like thou shalt rule I've ever heard about jiu-jitsu, I've seen it broken. I've seen it not really end up being true. And so I tend to sort of listen to people's ideas, you know, and I've done this for a long time, listen to people's ideas, and I try them out, but I never hang on to them like that, right? I'm like, yeah, let me try it out. I'll see how it works. But again, I'll sort of see for myself how this works. And again, to wrap this video up, I love side control. Side control is one of my best positions. I've gotten so many submissions from that position in competition and countless in the gym. And even recently, I was watching some really good competition matches. And I think it was like, Shanji Hibiro get a submission against a tough black belt from side control, right? So again, if someone says that side control is useless, that might be for them. Maybe it is true for them, but for you, it's working. For me, it's a great position. And so I would tell you to keep working on that position and explore it and see what happens. So, Dan, thanks for the question, brother. And I'll talk to you guys next time.